Imagine someone who looks exactly like a human, smiles like a human, even moves like a human, yet every instinct in your body tells you to stay away. What if I told you this feeling isn't learned, it's millions of years old? And the first clue didn't come from humans at all. Deep in a primate research lab, scientists once ran a strange experiment on rhesus macaques. They showed the monkeys three types of images: real monkey faces, cartoon monkey faces, and a synthetic, almost realistic monkey face rendered by computer. The monkeys stared happily at the real faces. They stared just as long at the cartoon ones, but when the almost real face appeared, something changed. The monkeys looked away. Again and again, they avoided eye contact with the face that looked closest to their own kind, but wasn't quite right. Why would a brain built by millions of years of evolution reject something so close to familiar? That question sits at the center of one of the strangest reactions in human psychology. You felt it too. A doll with eyes that track you across the room. A CGI human face in a movie that looks almost real, but makes your skin crawl. A humanoid robot that smiles just a little too smoothly. Scientists call this the Uncanny Valley, and for decades, nobody could fully explain why it happens. Is it fear of the unknown, a glitch in perception, or something buried much deeper? Something written into our biology before language even existed? To understand this, you have to go back to 1970, to a Japanese robotics professor named Masahiro Mori. Mori noticed something odd while working with early robots. As robots became more human-like, people liked them more, but only up to a point. Right before a robot became fully realistic, something flipped. People suddenly felt unease, even revulsion. Mori mapped this on a graph. Comfort rose steadily with human likeness, then crashed into a deep dip, right before reaching full realism. He named that dip the Uncanny Valley. At first, that sounds like a design problem, something for engineers to fix with better technology, but here's where things get strange. The same reaction appears in contexts that have nothing to do with robots. Wax figures, ventriloquist dummies, corpses. Even people with certain facial paralysis conditions sometimes report being treated with the same instinctive unease. That tells us something important. This isn't really about robots at all. It's about how the human brain processes faces. Your brain is a prediction machine. From infancy, you build an internal model of what a human face should look like, how it should move, how skin should catch light, how eyes should track. This model updates every single day of your life, refined by thousands of real human faces. When you see something that matches the model closely, but violates it in small, specific ways, your brain doesn't just notice the difference, it reacts to it. Neuroscientist Isa Sagan and her team tested this directly. They showed people a human actor, a mechanical-looking robot, and an eerie human-like android performing the same simple actions, like waving or nodding. Using brain imaging, they found that when participants watched the android, a region tied to detecting mismatches between expectation and reality lit up more than it did for either the clearly robotic or clearly human option. Your brain wasn't just seeing an object, it was detecting an error, a prediction failure. And prediction failure feels quite literally wrong. But why would a prediction error translate into fear? Why not curiosity or confusion or nothing at all? This is where evolution enters the story. Several researchers have proposed that the uncanny valley response is rooted in ancient survival mechanisms, though this remains an active area of debate rather than settled fact. One leading idea is called the pathogen avoidance hypothesis. Throughout human history, subtle facial abnormalities, unusual skin texture, or asymmetrical movement could signal disease, illness, or even death. A brain that flagged these signals with disgust or fear rather than curiosity had a survival advantage. In a world without modern medicine, hesitating near someone who looks slightly wrong could be the difference between catching a deadly illness or staying safe. Then scientists discovered something unexpected. This aversion isn't only about disease, it may also be tied to a much older, more primal fear: the fear of death itself. Some psychologists argue that uncanny faces resemble corpses just enough to trigger what's called mortality salience, a subconscious reminder that death exists. Studies on terror management theory suggest that when people are reminded of mortality, even subtly, their psychological defenses activate almost instantly. A face that looks alive, but behaves like it isn't, maybe quietly whispering the one thing your brain is wired to avoid thinking about. That's when everything starts connecting. The wrongness of movement, the dead stare of unmoving eyes, the skin that looks real, but doesn't move like living tissue does. All of it triggers overlapping alarm systems built for different threats: disease, death, and social deception, all firing at once. But the real mystery is why this reaction feels so personal, so visceral, compared to other fears. And that may come down to trust. Humans are an extremely social species. Recognizing genuine intention on another person's face was, for most of our evolutionary history, a matter of survival. Predators can't fake human expression, but other humans can. A face that looks human, but feels subtly deceptive, may trigger ancient social alarm systems designed to detect deception or hidden danger, even if no actual danger exists, until researchers notice one more surprising detail. The uncanny valley isn't fixed, it shifts with exposure. Studies on perceptual adaptation show that repeated exposure to almost human faces, like those in animation or robotics, can reduce the unease over time. Audiences who once recoiled at early CGI humans in films now barely notice similar imperfections in modern animation. Our brains are recalibrating, expanding what counts as acceptable, even as technology creeps closer to true realism. This raises an unsettling possibility. As artificial intelligence and robotics advance, humans may eventually stop feeling the uncanny valley altogether. Not because the imitation stopped being imperfect, but because our threshold for what feels human keeps shifting to make room for it. So maybe the uncanny valley was never really about robots, or dolls, or CGI. Maybe it's about how fragile and specific our definition of human really is. A boundary drawn by evolution, defended by fear, and constantly being redrawn by the very technology designed to cross it. And that leaves one haunting question hanging in the dark. If the line between human and almost human keeps moving, how will we know one day when it finally disappears completely?